First to say good afternoon. It's 12 o'clock.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake Heights, Illinois.
Welcome to the Dave Mierswa Show, the cutting-edge talk show about legal, political, and current issues. Practicing in both Wisconsin and Illinois, David Mierswa is a leading trial attorney bringing nearly 2 decades of business law, family law, personal injury, and estate planning experience to you. The Dave Mierswa Show, about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. The Dave Mierswa Show, its guests, agents, and WRLR are not rendering any legal advice. All listeners are encouraged to seek legal advice from properly licensed and qualified professionals.
Good afternoon. It is 12 noon, and I can't believe another week has flown by. It is 12 noon, and it is time for the Dave Mierswa Show. I am your host, Attorney Dave Mierswa. I hope once again everyone had a great week. I hope you spent some good quality time with your family and some loved ones, and obviously during the week, people like to get on your nerves. I tell you, I had a long week. It was every day last week was like a Monday. I swear to God, every day was like a Monday. I was in federal court last week, Tuesday, for about 4 hours, and I was waiting for a huge ruling to come down. And, you hurry up, you get downtown, and I got some breakfast. I went to court. I was preparing for the hearing for 3.5 hours, let alone the previous hours that I put in. And this is in federal court. I'm used to state court and circuit court. That's no big deal. I've been to court thousands and thousands of times. But federal court, I go a little often, but not that often. But anyway, we had a ruling in our favor, so last week was good. It was a short victory lived. I had a very busy week. Like I said, every day was Monday, and then for the next 3 weeks, almost every day I'm going to be in court. But anyway, that was what my week was like. I had a really great day yesterday. Last week, I didn't get a chance to celebrate with my mother-in-law, so we took her out yesterday, and my sister-in-law and her husband flew in from New York, and we took my mother-in-law out to a restaurant in Milwaukee. So we had a really good time. We hung out, and then we even got time to go to a museum. So it was pretty cool. It was a good day. I got out yesterday morning, and I couldn't believe the weather, but you do, because we lived in the Midwest for so long. It was so cold out, and I'm trying to get out, starting to walk again, work out, and I was wearing a winter hat. It was so cold out. Unbelievable. But anyway, folks and friends and listeners, you have tuned in to the Dave Mierswa Show, and I am so glad you did. I am going to keep you held captive for the next hour. I think you're going to find that today's show is going to be a total hit with you, with the information that I provide. But before I can get into my topic, I need to get out some shout outs here today. And I will get that out, and then I'm going to immediately get into my show, because I got so much cool and fantastic information for you. So as I begin all my shows, I like to kind of explain kind of my mission behind the show and why I started this radio show. So about 1.5 years ago, I was sitting around for Sundays, and I'd always read the newspaper, and I would always read all these articles out there, and then I would start to get heated underneath the collar because of all the politics going on and all the stupidity that's out there. And about 7 years ago, I had my first radio show, and I really enjoyed it a lot, and I started searching for a radio station that was conducive for me and conducive for my radio show. and I stumbled upon, I was at an outdoor expo in, I believe it was Schaumburg? Somewhere. I don't know, my memory fails me sometimes. But I was out in Schaumburg and I met Dave Jakes. Dave Jakes, who is host of the Cast and Blast Show every Saturday, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. with his son. And they've been co-hosting that show together for over 10 years. You know, that's pretty cool. So he brought me into the studio here and started introducing me around to all of the WRLR cast. And let me tell you, that is one wild bunch. There is such a diverse number of people coming in to this radio station here, and I was like, you know what? This could be a pretty cool fit. And I tell you, I have enjoyed coming on the radio every Sunday at 12 noon, and it has become a staple of my life. So why don't you sit back, enjoy some food. If you got some brandy, break out some brandy. If you got some kids, you want to give them some. I'm just kidding. But yeah, this radio station and this radio show is family friendly. Let me say that again. I'm going to get it together here, folks. This radio station and this radio show is family friendly. Okay, you don't have to worry about people swearing and all bad, all that. I strive so hard to bring you cutting edge topics on social, political, and legal issues. Okay, and if you heard the beginning of my show, this show is about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. The show about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. I have dedicated my life to being a lawyer and helping people that are out there, and I tell you, I've been able to help hundreds, if not thousands, of people over the last 20 years. And I want to bring you some of the knowledge that I have obtained through the courtroom and outside the courtroom over the last 20 years. So I not only bring you the legal experience, I also bring you street smarts. Okay, I didn't grow up, and I grew up in a middle-class family, so I had to claw and fight for every dollar that I had, and I respect all the hardworking people out there. So this show is dedicated for you, and this show tries to bring you really interesting topics and legal issues that concern your life. Okay, so before I do that, let me get my shout outs out of the way here. I started on a mission over 25 years ago to save animals and get involved with animal rescue. And that is one of my mission goals. If you don't have mission goals, maybe you ought to think about creating some and then going after them. And my mission goal is any way possible to help animals that don't have a voice for themselves. So I become their voice. Reach Rescue, a non-for-profit, non-kill animal shelter located in Mundelein. Again, that's Reach Rescue. If you are looking at adopting a dog or a cat or any other animal, stop in. You can Google them, Reach Rescue out of Mundelein. And also, this is pretty cool, right next door, they have a resale shop where if you don't think your house is cluttered enough and you haven't tripped over anything in 1 year, maybe you should get another coffee table or bedroom set. They got some really cool stuff over there. So they have a resale shop, and it's all tax-free, and I donate a lot of money to them, and I also try to promote them as much as I can. Also, one of my favorite shelters is Save a Pet. That's Save a Pet over on North Fairfield Road in Grays Lake, okay? They are a pretty well-known animal shelter, so if you're not doing anything today, stop in there, take a look at the animals. You can actually go in, you can pet all the cats, and they have dogs in there, so they're very hands-on, they're very friendly, just like Reach Rescue, okay? So let me get a couple other PSAs out of here. That stands for public service announcements. So WRLR and Classic Car Show is going to be happening on Saturday, May 28th of this year, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. And WRLR is going to be doing a live broadcast with Classic Car Night at Dog and Suds, located at Rawlings Road in Washington and Ingleside. And we should have a number of hosts there and WRLR staff. So due to limited seating, you should bring your own lawn chairs. And again, that's May 28th this year, obviously this summer, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. Also, I have another PSA here that kind of near and dear to my heart. John Marshall Law School has a fair housing rights. Fair housing laws protect your right to choose the best housing that you can afford. If you think that you are denied housing or you are being treated unfairly where you live because of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, etc., the John Marshall Law School Fair Housing Legal Clinic may be able to help you. For more information, call 312-786-2267, 312-786-2267, or you can email them at fairhousingclinic@jmls.edu. fairhousingclinic@jmls.edu. My wife went to John Marshall. It's a very good law school. I'm sure this clinic is outstanding. So if you need help in that arena, make sure you contact them. Okay, that is it for all of my intros and all of my shout outs here today. And I have a very sensitive topic here today that a lot of people really want to run and hide from. And it's one of these topics where you don't want to do that because it affects all your loved ones and your family and a lot of people around you. And before I discuss that topic, I wanted also to let you know, all you friends, family, and listeners out there, all of my shows are uploaded to YouTube. That's uploaded to YouTube, and that's starting this year on January. All you have to do is go into the search box and then put in my name, Dave Mierswa, and you'll see probably 50 to 100 shows already that have been recorded since the beginning of this year. Okay. Also, if you have your smartphone and you want to listen, you can go to law540.com, law540.com. All of my shows are uploaded there, so you can listen as well. That's law540.com. Okay. Just go on the radio show source page. All right. So that are all my shout outs. Today's topic, as well as last week, there are two huge topics here that I'm really going to pack a lot of information in. And don't worry, if you got a pen and a piece of paper, you may want to take some notes, but don't freak out if you miss something, because again, within a couple of days, this show gets uploaded to YouTube, or you go to law540.com, law540.com, and then you can listen to my show and you can go back as many times as you need to take some of these notes, because I talk very quickly. And I'm trying to pack in as much information as I can for all you listeners out there. Okay, so last week and this week, I talked about two main topics: estate planning and asset protection. It is a marriage between these two. Sometimes they get along, sometimes they don't. But when these two topics get along, it's blissful. And like when you have a marriage, when you don't get along, the harmonics is not very good. But as you get along between estate planning and asset protection, then it's a really cool, awesome thing when you get these two things in sync. Asset protection is where you use corporate entities and so forth to protect your assets from third parties, from third-party claims and lawsuits and lawyers. Okay. Also, another goal of asset protection is to reduce your taxes as much as possible. I'm not saying to lie, cheat, or steal the IRS. That's called committing fraud. Okay, you can go to jail for that. And sooner or later, when you commit fraud, you will be caught by the IRS and they will prosecute you. Okay, so I do respect the IRS, and the mission that they have is to rip you off as much money as they can. Okay, but they still are a legal federal agency that you really don't want to mess with. Okay, but the goal is to minimize your taxes and to have a conservative approach. So that is asset protection. Estate planning is really your last wishes that you want as far as your assets go, that where you want them to be distributed, and whom do you want them to be distributed to. Okay, so that is estate planning. Asset protection, again, is where you use corporate entities to give you limited liability, and I'll talk about that a little later on, and that works in conjunction with estate planning. Okay, so last week I spent the entire hour going over estate planning. Okay, so you can go in and Google my name under YouTube, or go to Law 540 and listen to the previous show. Okay, and that's going to give you even more information on estate planning than today, because I'm only going to spend about another 10 or 12 minutes on estate planning, then I'm going to shift gears over to asset protection. Okay, so last week I talked about the 5 main documents that you needed for estate planning. I'm going to go over that again, and I'm going to go over it real quick. Okay, so again, don't freak out. This stuff will be online, and I just want you to sit back and absorb what I'm listening, okay? I don't want you to be one of those students that you try to write down everything that the professor says, then you end up missing the whole thing. So just listen. Listen and try to absorb some of the important things that I'm talking about. Okay, the 5 main documents that most people use for estate planning. And one other thing is, at the beginning of my show, you heard a disclaimer. I am not rendering any legal advice to any of you friends or listeners, or anyone out in YouTube, or anyone who sees my videos, okay? I want to make that very clear. Okay, you gotta work with professionals. You gotta work with attorneys and tax accountants, okay? Some of this stuff you may be able to do on your own, but I'm telling you, you gotta work with professionals. Okay, the 5 main documents that most people have within their estate. Number 1, a living revocable trust, an LRT, a living revocable trust. That is a legal document anywhere from 15 to 40 pages or more. And that allows you to put assets into that living revocable trust. Okay, one thing that I didn't mention last week is that trust has to be funded. In other words, you have to put money into that trust before it goes active, before it's legally active. Otherwise, it's what's known as an empty shell. So the first one, living revocable trust. Okay, so you got this living revocable trust that keeps you out of probate. So the minute that you pass away, the living revocable trust kicks in, hence its name. Okay, and then that keeps you out of probate court. Probate court is where if you have a will or you don't have a will and you have assets here in Illinois, I believe it's above 100,000, or if you have interest in real estate, you must go through probate court. And probate court is a specified court where we handle everyone's estates. The states are broken down into two main entities: your financial estate and then your person. Okay, so you can actually go in and get guardianship over someone's person or their financial estate. Okay, but when you pass away, your person is no longer living, right? Makes sense, right? Because you passed away. But your estate, your financial estate, is still alive and active. Okay, the next document that you need for a proper, effective estate plan is a pour-over will. Let me say that again, a pour-over will. P-O-U-R, pour-over will. Not poor, P-O-O-R, which a lot of us are, but no, a pour-over will. P-O-U-R over will. And any financial assets that didn't hit the LRT, the living revocable trust, pours over into the pour-over will, hence its name. Okay, the next document is a power of attorney, either a general or a durable. Let me explain the difference. A durable power of attorney is enacted and goes legally effective when there are certain conditions, like when you are rendered unconscious. Okay, and then a loved one can come in and help run your financial estate. Okay, a general power of attorney is where you have complete discretion and control in conjunction with another person's financial affairs and their financial estate. And that makes sense. So if you got an elderly person who can't quite go over the numbers themselves, they need a little help or they need protection from third-party predators, and that includes other family members. But the general power of attorney allows a loved one to go in and help manage that person's financial affairs. Okay, the fourth one is a living will or power of attorney for health. Let me say that again, a living will and or a power of attorney for health. And once again, if you are rendered unconscious, or let's say you're in an auto accident, you're conscious, but then they pump you full of all these drugs to keep the pain down, you no longer have capacity. You no longer have legal capacity to make rightful health decisions on your own behalf. So, a living will or power of attorney for health allows a loved one, a trusted loved one, to go in and help make powers and decisions over your person and over your health. This could include surgeries. This could include being on ICU. Okay? And let me tell you, I had a case quite a few years back. And this person, we were trying to find them a person that could come in and a family member that could come in and help this person give decisions after they were going to be rendered unconscious. And the rest of the family members bowed out. So, we eventually went into the hospital, and then we worked something out with the hospital and the administrators there. But the first thing they did was they hooked her up to life support. And she did not execute a non-resuscitation order. That's part of a living will or power of attorney for health. So she stood there. She was helpless to be let go. And she came conscious, and she told me she didn't want to be on that. So eventually we got the machine turned off, and then she passed on her own. But, what an incredible thing to be connected to that. You don't have control over that. And I respect all the doctors out there and hospitals, but they are for profit. Let me tell you, they are for profit. And not that they would put your health above theirs, but they're also afraid of being sued. Everyone is so sue happy today. So these hospitals have risk management companies, and they want to minimize their chances of being sued. So, okay, the last document. Last week, I said HIPAA, H-I-P-P-A, and let me correct that, it's spelled H-I-P-A-A. It's the Health Transportable Act, and you can look it up. But it's spelled H-I-P-A-A, medical authorization. Okay, you need this document so a loved one or your lawyer or some other third party that could go in and get medical records on your behalf so you can make an informed decision on healthcare matters for that person. Okay, how can you make a healthcare decision for that person if you don't have the proper medical records to review? Now, another thing is, I run into this every 4 or 5 years. I had a gentleman who was already 82 years old, and my client, who was his wife, she was a little bit younger, and she was kind of an eccentric person, okay? But she still had legal rights. She went in, and the hospital deemed her not too fit, so they kind of just ran over her rights. Well, I came into the hospital, and I saw the way that they treated her, and then I came back the next day with her, and we had all the legal documents that we needed, and risk management came running down the ICU. And all the doctors were on call, and I said, if we don't have a staff meeting in 1 hour, I will be filing an immediate lawsuit against this hospital for violation of my client's civil rights and her husband's violation of her rights. Well, in 30 minutes, I tell you, they had like 6 doctors all put together, and so all of a sudden now she was treated like a human being. So not only does the hospital, they have to treat the family with respect. I'm not going to name this hospital or anything, but they kind of deemed her eccentric and not being able to make decisions, and they had no legal right to do that. So that's when I stepped in, and so we got the medical records, and it turned out that she decided to transport her husband to another hospital, and he was able to recover without the surgery that they were trying to shove down her throat. So that was kind of a victory, and I always remember that. And so that was kind of cool. So let me recap the 5 documents that you need. An LRT, a living revocable trust. Connected with that is a pour-over will, and those two together, the LRT, the living revocable trust, keeps that a probate, and then you have a power of attorney, either a general or a durable, and that allows a loved one to go and help manage your finances in your finance estate. And then the 4th one is a living will and or power of attorney for health, and that's where you can help make medical decisions on another person's behalf, whether it's a loved one, a friend, a wife, a partner, a civil union partner, whatever it is. Okay, I got about 4 or 5 minutes before I got to go to break, so I'm gonna try to squeeze this in here before break. There are 5 steps that you need to know that you have to take for estate planning. Okay, let me say that again. There are actually 6 steps that you need to do, that you need to know to take for estate planning. Okay, this includes those 5 main documents that I talked about. Whoops, sorry, I bumped the microphone again. Got a big, thick book here I wrote many years ago, and I'm kind of referencing this book, and it just kind of hit the microphone, so I apologize about that. Okay, step 1. Step 1 is, what information do I need to gather for my estate? Okay, you need to gather all of your financial documents. Okay, you need to gather all of your military service documents. You need to gather all your bank statements, stocks, and all that stuff. Also, you need to gather all of your employment information and safety deposit boxes. And then also, you need to write down all of your family history. You need to write down all of like who you're married to, all of your children, and things like that. Okay, so that is step 1. Step 2, I hit the microphone again. I apologize. The studio's a little bit cramped. But, okay, so step 2 is evaluation of that information. You need to go over all of the information that you have, and then you need to put it down in a succinct manner so that an attorney like myself or someone else can take a look at it and not piece this all together for you. Because if you don't do that, we're going to charge you an hourly rate to do that, okay? All right, the 3rd step is decide what course of actions that you need. This means that you are taking a look at your estate planning, and then also at the same time, you are taking a look at your asset protection while you are alive. So let me explain another difference between estate planning and asset protection. Asset protection is what you use corporate entities while you're alive to protect your assets. Estate planning is what you use to distribute your assets once you're passed away. Okay, so you're gonna decide what documents you need, what lawyers you're gonna work with. Last week I talked about a team that you needed to have around you to be successful. I call it a success matrix. Okay, these are highly educated, highly qualified people I have around me that are my friends and my family that I used to rely on. Okay, step 4, you need to hire qualified individuals. This would include attorneys, accountants, and other people that you need to execute the proper plan and documents that you need. Step 5 is executing the properly and legally effective documents. Okay, let me say that again. Step 5 is where you execute those documents. Okay, and the last part of step 5 is making sure that you have changed all of the title. See, here's the thing I'm going to talk about in a minute after break. You have to change some of the titling of those assets to either go in the corporate plan, the asset corporate plan, or the living revocable trust. If you don't do that, again, you have an empty shell living revocable trust. So you actually have to change certain titles of assets into that living revocable trust. If you don't, then it hits the pour-over rule, okay? All right, step 6 is from time to time, you need to revise these documents. I do anywhere from 5, 10, 20 estate plans per year, kind of depending on, they kind of come in waves and so forth in my practice. But there are certain red flags or triggers that you need to revisit your estate plan. Getting married, newborn children, accumulating a lot of wealth, inheriting a lot of wealth, possibility of a lawsuit, family members dying, major traveling, oncoming disability. Okay, these are all triggers that you should, have your estate plan, revisited. Okay, by your professionals yourself. Okay, folks, believe it or not, half of my show is over with. I'm gonna take a break here. We're gonna listen to some pretty cool spots coming up here. I'm gonna be back in a couple of minutes. All right. So when we get back from break, I'm